Dolly friends, how are all of you? I'm so happy to have you here today. No tricks or puns today. If you visit here regularly, you may know that I've been using this ugly wreck of a room as a dormitory for the dolls working in the infirmary. I'd like to create some better walls and maybe even a bathroom as part of the room. I need to consider just how to begin the overhaul. If you have any ideas, I would love to hear them. Everything you see will be removed and transformed, but in the meantime, I've decided to freshen up some of the furniture I was using in this room. You may remember when I purchased this lot of vintage 1930s furniture made in England for trying houses. Some of it is 1/16 scale, and I couldn't pass up the chance to acquire some of it. The brand is called Period Furniture, a little ironic nod to last week's video. I'm just examining the pieces to see what needs to be done. There's no significant problems, and I don't plan to take pieces completely apart and reconstruct them. On some of the pieces, the wood has warped just a little bit, and pieces need to be re-glued and have their scratches touched up. This one needs the glass replaced, and I don't have any of that nice acetate that some people have, but I have this trash plastic. I'm particularly fond of this little writing desk here, and it's really in pretty good shape. It does need some scratches touched up, but the back panel is warped just enough that the top of the desk is kind of coming apart. You can see there near my left thumb where it's just uneven. So I'm going to probably need a blow dryer to remove that end piece there, but it is pretty dry. So if that doesn't work, I'll move to my backup plan, which I actually haven't formulated yet. This little show and hut piano is just something extra I had that just needs a leg re-glued and maybe some retouching on the top. This poor little wardrobe has the most issues. The apron along the bottom needs some re-gluing, and the hinge in the upper left corner has been repaired with a piece of wire. I probably won't redo it since it seems to function properly. The hinges are unique, and being 90 or so years old, I'm not sure if I could easily find one to accurately replace it. The label on the back is as dry as the glue in some places and perhaps was part of an original label. At any rate, it might be difficult to remove, and I won't spend too much time on that, at least right now. The little dresser isn't too bad. It just really needs some cleaning. The little bottom apron, it has pulled away a little bit and will need some re-gluing, but this one just needs a little bit of cleaning. This little chair really just needs a little bit of glue, and I haven't decided what to do with this yet, so I'm not going to be working on this chair actually in this video. I think I'm going to just find an Afghan or something to put over it. This is some nice sandpaper that I actually bought at an estate sale this weekend, so I'm going to try that out. And I'm going to start with the little show and hut piece because it's a pretty straightforward repair. So I'm just cleaning it, and what I'm using is I'm using this eye makeup remover because it has a little bit of a cleaning property and it has some oils in it. So I'm gonna try that out and see how that works. So it seems to have absorbed some of the dryness of the wood, but after it dries, it may still be discolored. So we'll just have to see. And I'm gonna just sand this little part of the leg before I put it in. So this is a pretty simple repair, just some cleaning and a little glue for that leg. And I'm just using Gorilla wood glue for these projects. Of course, I should be waiting until everything dries before I start my touch-up, but of course I'm not, because that would mean waiting until everything dries. Who wants to do that? So I'm using my stain markers, which I'm going to be using on the other pieces as well, and there's a variety of colors there. This piece was in pretty bad condition. All right, let me let it dry and see how the top ends up, and let's grab the next piece. I'm gonna start with this little dresser because it seems to need the least amount of work. Once again, I'm starting with the cleaning because I just want that instant improvement that cleaning often brings. The wood is just so beautiful on these well-made pieces. Some of these the little feet are in not great shape, and I suspect that some of them have been replaced. Maybe even this one, the front feet are different than the back feet. The back feet seem to be the original pieces, and there's a lot of glue, old glue, clumped along the bottom. I'm just filing it a little bit to see if I can smooth it down a little bit. It's not really super necessary. If you look carefully, you can see where the apron has separated from the piece beneath it. And with the Q-tip, I'm just gonna try to get some glue under there and put it back together. That's really all it needs. It's just something that happens over time. And I'll just use my stain marker to cover some of the scratches and wear, which has happened on the piece, especially on the knobs. These would be more contemporary pieces in my dolls' houses because they're living in the 1930s. This is the wardrobe, and it's in pretty rough shape. In fact, it's probably the piece that needs the most work. The back feet have been completely replaced, and I don't know if you could see me pulling back. See that there? The front facing is almost completely come away from the frame. I don't want to remove the whole thing because I'm very concerned about it breaking or splitting if I have to manipulate that side that's glued down pretty well. So I'm just sanding underneath on the frame itself to prepare it for my glue. You can see on this piece also where the apron has come away from the frame and needs re-gluing. If you look to the left, you can see the hinges in some of these shots here and how they're made. Are you familiar with hinges like these? Have you seen them available? The Gorilla Glue works really well once it sets up. It does take some time to completely set up. It does catch pretty quickly. I probably could have used twice as much glue as I'm using, but I'm not the best with cleanup, so I'm a little bit ginger when it comes to applying glue. And of course, none of my clips work, so I spent a lot of time holding this furniture, which is every hobbyist's nightmare. So I'll work on this with my stain pens, and then I'll show it to you with the rest of the pieces when I'm done, but I want to move on. This piece is going to need the blow dryer, like I mentioned, so I'm going to set this aside until tomorrow. It's getting late here. The sun has set and it's dark in my parlor, which is where I'm working today, and I have the overhead light on. It's creating a lot of shadow. So this little chair needs a minimal amount of work. The desk needs a blow dryer, so I'm gonna save that until tomorrow. Yeah, so I can kind of get an idea of how it's constructed. And it just needs to be kind of pressed into the base of the upholstery there to make it a little more secure. So I am just applying my glue. I could have gone much heavier with the glue here, but I didn't. I don't know why. And this piece should be good. I just love this 1930s brown and orange and green fabric. I just love it. You can believe it, I don't even have a stash of rubber bands. I'm using some of my hair bands to keep this together, but it's actually working really well. It just happens to be just what I need. I actually almost bought, can you believe this? I almost bought rubber bands at an estate sale. I'm sure she wouldn't even have charged me for them. I'm regretting not picking up that little baggie. So as you can see, I'm just using my little stain pens, which are perfect for tiny little areas like this. I didn't even sand or anything on the legs. I just wanted to keep it pretty simple, but a little coloring goes a long way. I'll set this aside until tomorrow, and I think I have time to check on the show and hut. When the cleaning liquid dried, the faded areas reappeared on my show and hut, so I found the perfect color, and I'm just coloring it in and just buffing it a little bit with a cloth as I do that so that it doesn't look so streaky. And it's, wow, it's almost a perfect match. I'm pretty happy with it. That's about all I can do for the evening. I'll set this aside to dry and come back in the morning. Here's the little piano. So the coloring that I put on that looks really good. It's a really great match, and I don't need to do anything else to that. Where the legs are secure, and that's as good as that's going to get. I suppose I could always find another sticker or the keys sticker, but that would probably be somewhat difficult, so I'm not going to do that. And let's see how my little chair came out. Looks good, nice and secure, so I'm happy with that. And I had already gone over the legs with my little stain pens, so it looks good. The chair's looking well, and the dresser, which I also had gone over with my pens and redid the feet there. I think it looks pretty good. Now the wardrobe. I don't think there was anything else I was doing on the feet. I already sanded it a little bit. It's a little bit broken here, but I'm going to leave it. It's such a tiny, tiny piece. I don't think I'm going to be able to fix that. I still need to use my stain pen on this piece, but I wasn't able to get the sticker off. Ready to get started on my other pieces. The little hutch, which needs some glass. I can see it's a little warped, but I'm probably not going to be able to fix that, so that's okay. I'm just going to have to use my trash plastic, which I did cut a little bit away from the piece that I had from some packaging. And I'll just fill in these here. There's not anything that really needs to be glued on it, so we're doing okay on that. So that'll be something I do today, and I'll clean it as well. And then I think what's going to be the hardest part for me is my little desk. I tried and tried and tried and tried with my blow dryer to melt this portion away. As you can see, it's a bit warped, and well, there you have it. It just popped off. Thank goodness it came off in one piece because I tried and tried and it was not coming off. Ooh, what was that? I tried and tried and it was not coming off, and I didn't want to force it because I was so afraid the wood would break, because in the process of doing that, well, now it's done, it was just waiting for you all. This part came out, and if you can see the detail on that there's like little drawers carved into that, which is so sweet. And when this popped out, it was also a little bit warped because I had been using my blow dryer, so the glue along the sides and on the bottom was melting, and it broke directly in half. So I did glue that together with some wood glue. I think it's pretty clean. You can't see it too much. Well, a little bit, but so I'm gonna just let that continue to dry, and you can see how nicely made it is. There's actually a little extra piece of wood so that when you put the front there, it's just made really well. So I'm going to clean it up, and I'm going to re-glue that on. Well, I was a little bit concerned, and now I don't need to be. Whew! I'm going to put in the facing for the drawers first. Time for the stain pen. I think it looks pretty good. It will be fun to find some accessories to put in here. There's those interesting hinges again. And I think I do need to do a little touch up on the support pullouts. I don't really know what they're called. Yeah, those were the only thing that really needed some stain. They look good. On to the hutch. It was a little bit challenging to get these pieces just right because it's hard to measure them accurately. There is a little space that occurs between the doors because the wood on top is a little bit warped and expanded, but there's no way for me to fix that, so I'm not going to worry about that. In this instance, I'm using tacky glue. Instead of the wood glue, I want it to dry clear, and I know that tacky glue is going to look just right. You can see that the plastic itself looks like there's a few little surface scratches, so I think that's pretty authentic looking. And I did get it to cover all the areas, and I'm pretty happy with the way that's going to look. I made this little template and decided to put some paper along the back. I thought that would look nice. I went through a few different papers, but ultimately I decided on this one, and I'm really happy with the way that looks. They're just in there loosely right now, and I'm going to just use a little glue stick because I'm non-committal that way, and I'm gonna set them inside. Let me know what you think. let me know what you think about how everything turned out. I am really, really happy with my little minor repairs, and I think a little bit goes a long way. It does take some time, but you can improve the look of some of your old pieces. I want to take this moment to thank all of you for the wonderful comments you left on last week's video. I so deeply enjoyed hearing all your stories about what it was like for you as a teenager or young woman, all the different decades that we've all grown up in. You are all so truly amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. I know that some people were a little bit dismayed, but I assure you that it was all meant in good fun. Please come back and visit me next time in the doll cupboard.